Ever felt the walls closing in on you in a crowded subway? You're not alone. For many, the mere thought of being in a packed space is enough to trigger discomfort. But why? What's happening in our minds when we encounter crowds? This is the psychology of people who hate crowded places. Stick around, and you might find some surprising insights. You might even learn something about yourself. The personal comfort zone. Ever noticed how some people always seem to steer clear of crowded areas, like busy malls or packed concerts? It's not just about preferring solitude, it's often about their personal comfort zone. This zone is like an invisible bubble that people carry around, and when it gets burst, they feel uneasy. For those who dislike crowds, this bubble is particularly sensitive. It's not that they can't stand being around people, it's more about the lack of personal space and the feeling of being overwhelmed. Think of it like a physical boundary, but also an emotional one. When that boundary is crossed, their stress levels can shoot up, similar to how some people feel when they're in a room with too many others. Consider a packed subway car during rush hour. For some, it's just part of the daily routine. But for others, it's a stressful experience. Their personal comfort zone is being invaded. They might feel anxious, their heart rate might increase, and they could even start to sweat. This reaction isn't about the number of people, but rather about the feeling of losing control over their personal space. It's like when you're at a party and someone stands too close. You might feel uncomfortable, even if you're enjoying the conversation. That's a mild example of a personal comfort zone being crossed. Now, let's think about a crowded concert. For some, it's the best part of the experience. But for others, it's a nightmare. They might love the music, but the crowd makes it unbearable. It's not just about the noise or the heat. It's about the feeling of being trapped, of not having any personal space. This is their personal comfort zone being stretched beyond its limits. It's like when you're in a crowded elevator. You might feel uncomfortable, even if you're not usually bothered by crowds. That's because your personal comfort zone is being challenged. It's not just about the physical space, it's about the emotional and psychological space as well. For those who dislike crowds, this can be a daily struggle, a constant negotiation between their desire to be part of the world and their need for personal space. Sensory overload and crowds. In a bustling city square, the air buzzes with a cacophony of sounds, the scent of street food mingles with exhaust fumes, and the sea of people presses in from all sides. For many, this scene is invigorating, a symphony of urban life. But for others, it's overwhelming, a chaotic assault on the senses that triggers discomfort or even anxiety. This is sensory overload, a common experience for those who find crowded places challenging. Our brains are wired to process a vast amount of sensory information, but there's a limit. In crowded spaces, multiple stimuli compete for attention. The noise of conversations, footsteps, and traffic merges into a constant hum. The visual field becomes a blur of movement and color. Even the sense of smell is engaged, with a myriad of scents from food, perfume, and body odor. When the brain struggles to filter and prioritize these inputs, it can lead to feelings of stress and unease. For instance, a person might find it difficult to focus on a single conversation in a noisy bar, or feel claustrophobic in a packed elevator. Sensory overload is a physiological response, not a sign of weakness. When the brain is overstimulated, it can trigger the body's fight-or-flight response. Heart rate increases, muscles tense, and sweat glands activate. This is the body's way of preparing to deal with a perceived threat. In the context of a crowded place, this response can be debilitating. For example, someone might feel their heart racing in a crowded shopping mall, not because they're in danger, but because their brain is struggling to process the overwhelming sensory input. This response can make crowded places feel unbearable, driving people to seek out quieter, less stimulating environments. Social anxiety and personal space. For many, the thought of standing in a packed subway car during rush hour triggers an immediate sense of unease. This discomfort often stems from social anxiety, a condition that manifests in various ways, one of which is an intense discomfort with crowded spaces. Social anxiety involves a fear of being judged or scrutinized by others, and crowded places can amplify this fear. In a crowded space, personal space is often invaded, leading to a heightened state of anxiety. The close proximity of others can make individuals feel exposed and vulnerable, as they believe they are being watched or evaluated constantly. This fear can be so intense that it leads to avoidance behaviors, such as refusing to enter crowded areas or using alternative routes to avoid busy locations. Personal space is a crucial concept for those with social anxiety. It refers to the physical and psychological space that individuals maintain around themselves to feel comfortable and secure. When this personal space is invaded, it can trigger a fight or flight response, causing physical symptoms such as sweating, rapid heartbeat, and shortness of breath. For instance, someone with social anxiety might feel physically uncomfortable when standing in a long line at a store, surrounded by people on all sides. The lack of personal space can make them feel trapped, leading to a panic response. This reaction is not just about discomfort. It's a genuine psychological and physiological response to a perceived threat. The relationship between social anxiety and personal space is complex. It's not just about disliking crowds. It's about the perceived threat of evaluation and the invasion of personal space. For example, someone might love large parties where they can mingle and socialize, but feel extremely anxious in a crowded elevator. The difference lies in the level of control they feel they have over their personal space. In a party, they can move around and choose who to interact with. In an elevator, they are confined and have no control over their proximity to others. This lack of control can exacerbate feelings of anxiety and discomfort. Understanding this connection can help in managing social anxiety. Techniques such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can help individuals reframe their thoughts about crowded spaces and personal space. For instance, instead of thinking, "Everyone is looking at me and judging me," they can learn to think, "First, I'm just one person in a crowd, and most people are focused on their own lives." Additionally, grounding techniques can help manage physical symptoms of anxiety. Deep breathing, focusing on physical sensations, or counting objects can help bring an individual back to the present moment, reducing the intensity of their anxiety. Cultural and upbringing influences. Picture this: a bustling city square filled with people, and there, in the corner, is someone looking visibly uncomfortable, even anxious. It's not just about personal preference. It's often deeply rooted in their cultural background and upbringing. Take, for instance, someone from a culture that values personal space, like the United States or Northern Europe. They might find crowded places overwhelming because their cultural norms dictate a certain level of physical and psychological distance from others. In these cultures, personal space is often seen as a sign of respect and independence. Growing up in such environments, people learn to associate crowded spaces with discomfort or even disrespect. It's not just about the crowd, it's about what the crowd represents, a breach of their cultural norms. On the other hand, consider someone from a culture that thrives on communal living, like many parts of Asia, Africa, or Latin America. They might find crowded places less stressful because their upbringing has conditioned them to see these spaces as vibrant hubs of social interaction. In these cultures, personal space is often more flexible, and crowded places can be seen as opportunities for connection. For example, in Japan, while personal space is valued, crowded spaces like trains are accepted as part of daily life. The key difference lies in how these cultures interpret and navigate crowded spaces. It's not about the crowd itself, but about the meaning and value assigned to it by their cultural upbringing. Moreover, upbringing within a culture can also play a significant role. A child raised in a large, close-knit family might find crowded places less intimidating than someone who grew up in a smaller family with more personal space. For instance, someone from a big family in Italy might find the buzz of a crowded piazza comforting, while someone from a small family in Sweden might find the same scene overwhelming. The way parents and caregivers model behavior in crowded spaces can also influence a child's comfort level. If a child sees their parents navigating crowded spaces with ease and confidence, they are more likely to do the same. Conversely, if a child sees their parents avoiding or stressing about crowded places, they might adopt similar behaviors. It's a complex interplay of cultural norms and personal experiences that shapes one's comfort level in crowded places. Coping mechanisms and strategies. It's a sunny Saturday, and the local market is bustling with people. For some, this is a delightful scene, but for others, it's a trigger for anxiety. Those who dislike crowded places often develop coping mechanisms to manage their discomfort. These strategies can be as simple as planning ahead or as involved as practicing mindfulness techniques. Planning is a key strategy. Individuals often scout locations beforehand to understand the layout and identify quieter times to visit. For instance, someone might visit a popular cafe early in the morning or late in the afternoon to avoid peak hours. They might also use technology to their advantage, checking real-time crowd levels through apps or social media before heading out. This proactive approach helps them feel more in control and less overwhelmed. Mindfulness and relaxation techniques can also be highly effective. Deep breathing exercises, for example, can help calm the nervous system when someone starts to feel anxious in a crowded space. Grounding techniques, where individuals focus on their physical sensations or surroundings, can also provide a sense of stability. Some people find it helpful to carry earplugs or headphones to reduce auditory overload. Others might use a mantra or positive affirmation to shift their focus away from the crowd and onto something more soothing. Support networks play a crucial role as well. Friends and family who understand the person's discomfort can provide companionship and reassurance. They can help by accompanying them to crowded places, offering a familiar presence amidst the chaos. Additionally, professional support, such as therapy or counseling, can provide tools and strategies tailored to the individual's needs. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for example, can help individuals reframe their thoughts about crowded places and develop healthier coping mechanisms. You know that feeling when you finally step out of a packed subway or a bustling shopping mall and you can breathe again? That sense of relief is something many of us share. Throughout this video, we've explored why crowded places can be so overwhelming for some people. We've seen how personal space, sensory overload, and even past experiences can make these situations challenging. It's not just about being an introvert or an extrovert. It's about understanding our own limits and respecting those of others. Remember, it's okay to take a step back when you need to. It's okay to say, "First need some space." If you found this video helpful, give it a like. And if you know someone who might relate to this, share it with them. We all deserve to feel comfortable in our own skin, even in a crowd. And if you're curious about more topics like this, don't forget to subscribe. We've got plenty more to explore together. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, it's okay to need some space.